Hey, what's up? I'm Pascal from Orangepixel and welcome to another video. There are 3 reasons that I create pixel art games, and every now and then people ask me, why do you not try high resolution or 3D type games? There are reasons for that. 3 reasons, main reasons. 2 of those are pretty easy to guess. The third reason is the most important one, and I think a lot of game developers do not think about that. And it's not so much about pixel art, but it is a very important reason on why I keep making these games. After the intro. So the obvious first 2 reasons of why I keep creating pixel art like games. I like the style of pixel art. I always liked it. I grew up in the 80s and 90s with games that all looked like that because we had no bigger resolutions than that. And I still enjoy looking at games that create pixel art. I think there are many talented pixel artists out there. They create so many cool things in such a tiny detailed package. It's kind of amazing and I like it, I love it. That's why I keep making those. So that's the first reason. The second one is experience. I could create 3D models, probably. I'm creative, I have done it before. It just requires a lot of time to get into it and back into it and to make really good models. But once I get into that flow, I'm certain I can create them, but they're gonna take a lot more time. I could also use high resolution art, go bigger, go still 2D, but just more details and things in there. I could easily do that. I can draw, I can animate, but it would also take me a lot more time. And obviously because there is just more detail, it takes more time to create it. But also I have so many years experience creating pixel art that it goes so much faster for me creating pixel art and animating it in the way that they work for my game than if I had to do all that in higher resolution or in 3D. So experience is certainly a big factor for me to keep doing it, because in today's market, 2024, last year, next couple of years, the key thing to success is creating games quickly. The faster you can develop them, the cheaper they are to develop and the easier it is for you to actually make back your money. So in my case, it's a no-brainer. The experience, liking the style, being able to quickly create it, key reasons to make games the way I make them. Now let's talk about the main reason. And this is the reason that this whole video exists: branding. I often see so many game developers that are very focused on their current game, the one they're working on or just released or about to release it. That's their focus, that's their main thing. And they keep pushing updates and they keep working on it because they have an audience, maybe people are buying it, so they keep pushing updates and updates. But they're not thinking about their next game, or what about the game in 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 15 years from now. And that's something that I know at the start of your career, you're not thinking about it, but there's gonna be that point. You wake up in the morning, I've been doing it for decades. I've been doing this for decades, and I like to think that Orangepixel, the brand Orangepixel, the company I created, stands for a couple of things. The first one, colorful pixel art. We just talked about that one. The second one is modern gameplay mixed with some old school vibes, some retro-like feeling, but still in a way that they really use a lot of the mechanics from the modern games and from current games. And I try to go with new genres and styles here and there, or implement certain features that I see are in new games. Right now we have a lot of extraction type shooters, and extraction is a very interesting thing to implement into games. So I am looking in ways to create and use that in my retro looking games. Third one is replayable. I like to have my games very much replayable so that people can try it again and play it again even after completing it, and also in a fun, family friendly way if possible. Every now and then I like to add a lot of pixelated blood and shooting to my games, but I played those games as a kid as well and I'm pretty normal. I try to always have sliders there so that you can minimize the amount of blood so that it can be family friendly fun. Now, back in the early days when I just started Orangepixel, like before smartphones, 2004, 2005, on old Nokia devices and Sony feature phone type things with the buttons, I created a lot of platforming games. That was pretty much the Orangepixel brand. Platformers, pixel art, playable, which was a unique thing in those days, having a platform game that was actually fun to play and easy to play and control. So when I released a new game, it was a platformer. A lot of people knew that Orangepixel and a platformer, I'll buy it. and that was the Orangepixel brand. Pretty clear for all the people that played games on their phone. The combination of my company name and the platformer was just a good game. And over time I started changing that, mostly because other developers started telling me, why will you not try to create a game like this? Why do you stick with platformers? Try something else. And for some reason I thought I had to. And it's not a bad thing that I started doing that, because then a lot of cool games were made. Heroes of Loot, Space Grunts, Ashworld, a lot of different genres passed, and that's not a bad thing. I learned how to implement certain technical things and features that I never needed for my platform games, and as a game developer I grew and became better. I know that's the good thing. The bad thing is that Orangepixel lost a little bit of clarity. What was an Orangepixel game? It was still the first couple of things I mentioned: pixel art, arcadey, modern gameplay, fun and frantic for the whole family. That was pretty much clear, but the type of game and the genre, and was it gonna be fun for a specific player, that just kind of lost its meaning and wasn't clear anymore. And that's currently where I am at now. I'm still trying to figure out and trying to get back to a certain spot and create a certain brand for Orangepixel. So the last couple of years I've been trying to re-identify what makes an Orangepixel game. I don't think I'm there yet. Not yet. I'm not gonna go back to platform games because that market is just gone. There are not many good platformers, and when they are released, there are so many of them that are pretty standard that you don't really look at them. So it's not really a good place to be in the market with platform games. I think my type of games has that replayability, the roguelike aspect. I like to put that in almost every game I release. Not a roguelike, but a roguelite, which means certain elements, and those are the aspects that really make every game more replayable. So the key ones, that it's procedural, that you can die, when you die you lose everything. Just those little basics like that. A lot of items, a randomization on which items you find. I like to add those things to my game. So pretty much an Orangepixel game has those elements. But I also know I've been making a terrible mistake on a bunch of my last couple of games. I've been mixing genres way too much. I like it. As a game developer, it's a lot of fun. Think about a top-down shooter, but then maybe add some puzzle elements to it, or mix it up with driving and racing. I don't know, I'm just making up these things, and that has been the problem. People, humans, like what they know, and most of us don't like what they don't know. So a player that's into a certain genre or certain type of game, that's what they want to play, and that's what they want more of. And if you then create a game in the same genre and you start twisting it up to something completely different, you're gonna lose a lot of people that on paper would be into that game, except you mixed it with something else that they might not like at all, and they're now either gonna buy your game and leave a terrible review because they do not like that type of game, or they just simply not buy the game at all. You lost them. And there should be a little middle ground there, because I'm not saying it's a bad thing to mix genres. I still think it's a good thing, and it brings and creates new genres and new games, and that's how it's always been. But it is a risky thing to do. There is just a very big chance of alienating a whole potential audience. Now, I've been mixing genres with mixed results. I had Residual, a platformer, there we go again, a platformer, but also a survival-like game with some puzzling here and there. I liked it. I think the result is very close to what I originally had in my mind, but I know it's not the game that most people expected. That was pretty much the biggest problem when selling the game. People thought it would be a Terraria, or it would maybe be something completely different, build a base and all that stuff. That wasn't in the game in that way as they expected it. So that was a failure. I also had a very good mix. That was Gauntlet of Power, launched a month ago, very recently. That was doing pretty well. It's a roguelike Binding of Isaac type game, but mixed with a little bit of Vampire Survivors, Horde, or Bullet Heaven, or whatever these things are called these days. Horde shooter, Bullet Heaven. People don't really have a good name for it yet, but I mixed that into one package that works. People who were into Binding of Isaac and dungeon crawler type things, they could pretty much deal with whatever I changed and modified there. So in that case, the genre mix worked. But you never know if it's gonna work until you start selling the game or try testing it on people. And then you also need a very large group of people to play test it, because some will like it, others will not. You have to figure out if it's good enough to actually continue working on a game like that. But I'm straying off the main point for this video. Brand building. Make clear what type of games you are making. And if you are very successful in a certain game, if you just release something and a lot of people are into that, it doesn't hurt making another game like that. It could actually benefit you very much if you make the same type of game. Maybe put it in another setting, maybe add some stuff to it, very minor stuff and changes, just to see if people like it, and build from there. And that means you don't have just a game out there, but now your company, your brand is getting known for a certain specific type of game. And of course, every now and then you can try something else, especially if you have a very large group, a large fan base that loved all your previous games. You can tell them, hey, we're gonna try something new now. Here is a short little demo for it. Try it, play it. I'm sure you're gonna love it. At that point, you could try different things. But having a brand, having it very clear to people what it is that you're selling and making, that's gonna help you a lot when you try to do this year after year, decade after decade. And I think a lot of game developers are just very narrow, looking at the current project, the current release, and not thinking about building a brand, just building that one game and releasing it. And I know that's very hard already, creating a game, releasing the game, selling the game, making money from that game. I know that's very hard, but if you think about the bigger picture at all times, it could certainly help you with the next project you're going to be creating. So that's the main outtake for this video. Build your brand and not just that single cool little game. And that pretty much ends this week's video. Wanted to talk about this. I hope it's gonna help certain developers to move on from the current project and think bigger, think outside the box, think outside of that one game. You're trying to create a career out of this. You're trying to keep doing it because it's a very fun job. Creating games is a lot of fun. So try to make it future-proof. And we all know what a golden M means in terms of food. That's a brand, and you know you're gonna get something that's not very healthy. It's not very good food and quality-wise, but it's certainly very tasty. And that's pretty much what you want with your brand. It should be tasty, preferably very good, but make sure the players know what they're getting. Alright, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below, all that stuff. Come say hi on the Discord. Don't forget, I also have a newsletter. I should do more with that as it's part of my brand. Subscribe, sign up, also in the description below. And I will see you next week's video. Bye.